Welcome to Moonlight Madness, and today I'm doing the sign for the sun, moon and rising of Earth sign, which is Taurus, Capricorn and Virgo. The decks I'll be using is the Fairy Tarot cards by Doreen Virtue and Radleigh Valentine, which I'm doing a course online with him at the moment. He's such a fun guy. He was channeling messages for me as we speak and taught me a new tarot deck reading that I'm going to try and use in these readings. The artwork that's on here is beautiful. It's why I picked the tarot deck with Doreen Virtue and Radleigh Valentine. He does a manifestation course, a magical manifestation community, and he does the 3 keys of manifestation as well. The Wild Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle by Lucy Cavendish and artwork by Selena Fennick, which is why I chose the deck. The Enchanted Map by Colette Baron Reid, Oracle cards. The Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron Reid. Again, she's got some really good subjects. And so I did a reading Wednesday last week, 2 days before the Queen died, and it wasn't a fun night. I had to go to a group. I'm doing group therapy work at Got Your Sister Back for domestic violence, where I experienced living in a house with 7 other people, and 3 of them were on drugs and had issues and basically caused a lot of stress. So my PTSD got worse and I was forced to flee in the afternoon because I was being hounded by these guys that were on something and scared the bejesus out of me, and in the end I had to run and call the police and ended up in a shelter, which was not my ideal situation. Had I have known that they were on drugs when I moved in there, I wouldn't have moved in there, but being a single woman of my age, I just figured that they had some issues they were working through, and I'm very understanding, and I was trying to help them as a friend. Perhaps I'm too friendly, perhaps I'm too nice or naive, I don't know. Maybe that's why I've got this ability, because I'm so naive and I'm very, I'd lend a hand to anyone. I would look out for anyone. That's just my nature. And they took that as a cue to try and hit on me, and then eventually one threatened my life or threatened to rape me, and then I was on edge. So I was never home. I was walking 20 k's a day. I started losing weight. My parents, my mum was concerned, my family were concerned about me because I was losing weight and never home, and they couldn't understand why, and I couldn't tell them because we were in lockdown and I had nowhere to go. Where was I going to go? So I stayed there under this extreme duress for 8 months, and it physically, mentally and emotionally drains me. I'm in therapy because of it. So I don't trust anyone anymore. I'm very careful who I let in. But in saying the thing with the Queen, I couldn't sleep that night that before she died. I got this vision, and I drew it because it was really such a very strong vision. And when I get these strong visions, I have to draw them or write down things about them. So I got this teacup. I got this teapot. Maybe I'm in a different light. And so the teapot was a masculine symbol, but it also connects the dots for me because in the vision I got told that the Queen was telling this servant that she wanted this special type of tea, and they were out of it, and it was a lemon scented tea or a citrus tea, and I'm like, what's that about? Okay, all right, that's weird. And then I got this imagery of these 2 circles and a strainer, and the strainer of the teapot represented that, and that was the Star Tarot card is healing. But what I didn't know, I researched later after the news of the death of the Queen, is that they have to walk this special walk to Buckingham Palace, where all the kings and queens before them, before they become sworn in as the new king or new queen, across this chalice. It's called the chalice. And on the tarot card deck in Glastonbury, the Aquarian card has a picture of a chalice with a grate over top, which is looks like a tea strainer, so it's kind of representing that. And so that's where these kings and queens walk to become ascended as the royals. So the teapot vision was telling me that there was going to be a new king or queen. but I didn't connect the dots until after the fact. And so what the tea represented is telling stories or confiding in a friend. She was confiding in me about the tea being drugged or not pure, or someone poisoned her, and it was a fated event that I could not prevent because it was fated. And 3 years before she died, I kept having visions of Queen Elizabeth on the bus, really sick, really thin, really run down, because I was getting daydreams through the day because I'm quite psychic. And so what it told me is that the star represents a big healing. And so I found out later that Operation Queen Elizabeth dying, they called it the unicorn. And what does the unicorn do? The unicorn, back in the 18th century, 15th century, they used to capture pictures of unicorns or horses that had certain healing properties. The queens and kings used to, back then, there was a legend that they cut off the unicorn's horn and only the queen would drink or the king would drink from the unicorn's horn. And it's weird how they called it Operation Unicorn. I kept getting the Sun card, which has got a unicorn on it. So I was like, this is all very linked. So, yeah, so the masculine symbol is hollow underneath and is guarded by the Grail, or the Holy Grail. And the tea bags retreats from the world, or shut off, or quarantined. Kings walk to be sworn in by the Pope and with the water from the actual chalice pond, which you can visit online. And it is representative of a new king or queen or sovereign being sworn in, which was a massive event that we were all not prepared for, but I'd already seen this like 3 years ago when I was living in a university compound. I had visions of the Queen really sick and really frail. And I tried to prevent that by drawing her image in a happy event with Prince Philip. But then he got sick because I had visions of him, young. And that's why I knew he was going to die, because he was young, came through. So the reason I'm saying this is because I'm doing earth signs right now. And so the first card I pulled was the Emperor. Now the Emperor represents a king or a queen who represents all the 4 kings and queens in the tarot deck. They have both the compassion of the King of Cups and empathy and sympathy and emotional and heartfelt and very empathetic. They like to journal, they like to write their emotions. That's their way of expressing themselves. They also represented by the King of Air, which is strategic, forceful, can be cold, but can very much strategize what they're needing to do next, and very independent and self-sovereign, self-soothing, which I think the Queen embodied. She was very good at knowing what to do next when it come to things in her family. She always had a plan. And then there was the King of Earth or Pentacles, which is someone watching their coins, watching their money. She's not extravagant, never was, because she was brought up in the war days, and was also very diligent with her job and took her job very seriously. She did it up to her very last breath, is what they said on the eulogy of her death. And then we had the King of Wands, which is charismatic, funny, can juggle many responsibilities in a big house or a big family. And she had many responsibility as a mum, as a sovereign, and as a parent and a grandparent. She had all these things she juggled. She juggled huge events, but carried them off effortlessly because she made it look easy, but it is not. And I think this is a big learning curve for Prince Charles, because he's going to have to do the very same thing. And I don't think he will do quite a good as job as her, because she can cut off her emotions. He can't. He's a King of Cups. They're very emotional. That's going to be his downfall. He has to find a way to set a boundary, I think, within the kingdom, the next lineage of his kingdom. But he's a very heartfelt leader, and he cares about common interests, environmental issues like the fisheries, the wildlife, which is he's passed along to his sons, William and Harry. So I believe that what he's done with the funeral, he let bygones be bygones, and he let Harry wear his uniform with pride, because he earned that. He went to 2 wars. He served his time, just like the Queen. And so the petty arguments were swept aside and they got to the nitty-gritty of it. I believe that's what should have happened. There'll be a huge healing that's going to happen within the royal family since the royal's death. We've got here life experience. Again, the Aquarian energy. So there's a new Aquarian age we're in right now. Is all about moving forward, technology based, all about the intellectual. So he may even get some advice from Prince Andrew. I'm thinking Prince Andrew's very strategic as well. He would have been a very good king as well. Yes, he's stuffed up here and there, and he's done some impulsive actions which has cost him dearly in his personal life, but he is at the heart of it very much work oriented like his mother was, and very strategic. And so I think he will help Prince Charles in his ascension to being king. Also, Prince Harry possesses the Aquarian energy in his chart. I've researched it. He has Aquarius energy. So he can be a little bit dramatic and a little bit left of field, and does things on impulse as well, like his Uncle Andrew, but he will always maintain state and citizen and be all about the Queen and all about the King. When it comes down to it, the chips are down, he'll be there for the family. So this is a shocking experience. So this was a shocking experience to most people, me not included in that equation, that this was going to happen. I already had notice of them passing 3-4 years ago because I have these visions. And so it's a lightning bolt moment. It's when you get fired from your job, someone dies unexpectedly, someone leaves the house unexpectedly, or a relationship breaks up. It's one of those, dramatic happenings. And so I put the amethyst that I got from Rainbow Runner, I think it's from Rainbow Runner. Amethyst is representative of Aquarian nature. All in the cerebral. We're very cerebral. We think we're strategizers. We don't tend to put our emotions before our head. We put our head before our heart. It's Aquarian nature. Very rarely do we put our heart in front of our head. And in the past, you've got the Princess of Spring. So maybe there was a past relative or relationship with someone that's got a fiery nature. Could be a sibling, could be a girlfriend, could be just a past lover, could be an in-law, sister-in-law, mother-in-law, who is a Sagittarian, Leo, Aries nature. They're fun. They're really good at being the life of the party. They're very stubborn. They're very regal. They can sing, dance, act, all of it. And they are very heartfelt, I think, if anything. They care about people as well. And so they've got charisma, which helps to sell their brand, their product, themselves. And we've got recent past, we've got the King of Swords, someone who is, again, Aquarian, Gemini, Libra energy, who is strategic, knowledgeable, fair-minded, unemotional. They would rather have their books than people in their life. They're good at public speaking. They could be the CEO of a company. So there's someone in your past that was like that for the earth signs. And then we've got here, and this is what makes me know that it's a death. So we've got the Three of Swords accompanied by the outcome as the Death card. So definitely a death in the family, the death of someone that was close to you, a parting of ways, a separation of friendship or a separation of family, an operation that did not go so well, and that this will take time to heal because it's a grieving situation for the people involved in a family situation. If someone has passed along or is currently passing along and not been informing everyone about it, which we were not informed until the very end, which I think they kept it that way to protect her privacy. The Six of Autumn is to do with giving back to society. You're giving gifts. I've recently gave nearly a 3-bedroom house away to a single mum who was struggling. I got rid of my storage bin. It helped me, but it also helped her and her son. I gave them basketballs. I gave them a wash machine and a dryer and things I thought she might need, like table and stuff. So I got rid of all those things in order to help someone, because I didn't know how else I was going to keep paying for a storage unit I couldn't afford to keep. And so you'll be repaid unexpectedly. It's like the law of attraction. What you give out, you will attract back. So I gave out a lot of stuff that was worth a lot of money to me that I worked really hard for. But I also knew that it was going to a good home, to someone that actually needed it. So my shelter where I was living at, Nova for Women, they organised a removal man who works for Nova, who's an ex-cop, ex-policeman, and he picked it up for me, and he was really glad to do that, and he was really happy that I was happy to give it to this lady who needed it and was struggling. And then I have the Strength card, which is Leo energy. So you may be exhibiting Leo energy. You may have Leo in your chart. I know I have Leo in my 10th house. And so the Leo energy is all about kindness, but don't mistake kindness for weakness, because we are very giving, we're very kind, we're very generous, but we don't like being taken advantage of, and that's what it's saying there. And it also talks about having an inner strength to overcome challenges and embracing how wonderful you are. You might be in the spotlight right now, you might be on stage, you might be on film, you might be doing a YouTube channel, and so the spotlight's falling upon you right now because something you predicted a long time ago has come true, which in my case it has several times over, including COVID. And so I grabbed the tiger's eye to represent the tiger's eye, and might I add, do not use this lightly. Tiger's eye is a strong energy. Don't have two tiger's eye in the room at the same time, or you will not sleep, because your mind's eye, your clairvoyancy, will open up exponentially to the point where you'll be seeing visions all the time, even when you're sleeping, waking. It's a very strong. I don't even think I should have it in my room. It makes me too switched on through the day, where I get downloads and visions through the daytime. So I'm thinking perhaps I need to get rid of my tiger's eye because it makes me too open. But being an Aquarian, it doesn't resonate with me. But being the Leo in my chart, I resonate with it. So it's protection. Then you've got someone around you right now, Earth sign. If you're involved with anyone that's a Libra, Aquarian or Gemini, who doesn't think before they act impulsively, but they get results. And that's the reason they are so loved, because they act on impulse, act on intuition, and usually they're the first ones to put their hand up, but they don't always see the forest from the trees. As you can see, he's skiing and he's not watching where he's going because he's in the thrill of the moment. He's impulsive, he's intellectual, he's determined, he's very focused. They need to act quickly and decisively. So there's going to be some changes. So Aquarian nature. So I pulled out the crystal, pure crystalline nature, which is Aquarian energy, the quartz crystal. So to channel clear messages, you breathe in with the clear quartz, you breathe out with the black obsidian, negative energy. I bring that to the pool because that's also for protection, because the next card upon that is that you've got justice to deal with. Maybe you're going through a court case, finalising a will, finalising assets and things like that. Who's going to have the children? Who's going to take what? So I put the protection stone of the black obsidian. And then in the end, we've got transformation. So some of you are going through this massive transformation because of a grief, of a loss of a person or a situation or a home or a family, a breakdown in relationships. And so that's the situation. The next deck card I'll be pulling is the Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron Reid. And I grabbed my black candle today because it represents fire. Air, fire, water, and air, all the 4 elements, because we're burning with fire, it becomes liquid, and then it evaporates into air. So we've got all the 4 elements. And white lily represents death, the death card, the Scorpion energy. Very sad about the Queen, but I knew it was coming, and I told the right people I'm friends with that are quite high up in the RAF, that can pass along the information to the family, because I do try to work behind the scenes as well as in the scenes, but I did predict it, so they kind of were prepared. Fork in the road. And these people need to know, it's their heritage there. They represent a community of people, the Church of England. They represent us as a democracy. So of course I'm going to pass it along to the right people. That's what I did with COVID. That's interesting. So you've got a fork in the road. You've got a choice to make. Go left or right. Swipe yes or no. You'll find a way. It may be a path that you have to go on that's the road less travelled than the road that you already travelled. And that pulled out the tribe. Yeah, you need to find your tribe. Okay, and then we pull the deck from The Enchanted Map by Colette Baron Reid. It's amazing that two great people in the world that did the most good work have left the building, literally left the building, left the earth, was the Queen and Olivia. I never saw Olivia pass. However, I kept getting a song in my head back in 2018. I kept singing Whenever You're Away From Me, which she co-starred in Xanadu. And I kept watching reruns of Xanadu, and I couldn't figure out why I kept wanting to see Xanadu and watching that scene. I thought, what's this about? Why am I so hung up on Whenever You're Away From Me with Gene Kelly? Turns out that was her way to communicate with me that she was leaving the Earth, the planet. And she was one of the biggest activists of environmental issues in the world today. She supported the cancer research, the wellness centre, all of that she did in order to support people that had gone through what she'd gone through on her own. Another Libran. The Librans are all about balance and balancing out people's emotions, and they live in their head quite a bit. They have arguments with themselves in their head because they oscillate between negative and positive emotions. But she was such a guiding light, and the reason she got on so well with John Travolta is because he was the Aquarian and the Libran. They got on like a house on fire. They always remained friends. I think that's the beauty of that relationship. And years later, she did end up with a younger guy. But even though she said no to him, she thought that people would talk. She should have just went with the gut. Deep freeze. Something's on hold. Xanadu was not going to be made. I think the only reason they got Gene Kelly on board is because he could do a dance scene and he wanted to teach Olivia, and because they did that he filmed that last minute because he was older, of course, but he really wanted to draw attention to the old way of life, the tap dancing and what he'd experienced, and he married up his generation with the younger generation. I thought that was brilliant through music, just like Elvis Presley did in this new movie they made. This card doesn't want to come out. Oh, there it is. All right, we've got Metamorphosis. So yes, transformation again. Death card. So like attracts like. We've got the Death card and we've got the Death card in the other deck. Fork in the road and the Tribe. This big deck, which I find I struggle to shuffle, is the Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle by Lucy Cavendish and, what do you think? Selena Fennick. I wonder if she's related to the boxer, possibly. I had a friend in a group that I've done the group work in who gave me a hat. I think she wanted me to read the energy, but what I forgot to tell, well, what I should say to people is I can't read energy from a brand new hat. It's just too new. It doesn't have any energy on it. I can read it from someone's old hat from 10 years ago or from 6 months ago or even 3 months ago, but I can't do a new hat because it's got no energy. That energy is not even on that hat. It's from the shop's energy. So I'll probably get the salesperson's energy rather than the person wearing the hat. But I scored a free hat, which is pretty cool. It's a knight's hat. Went to my youngest son. He'd be very happy with that hat, I'm sure. Oh, that one to come out. Gatekeeper. Fairy time shifts, dimensional leaps. We're coming up to the equinox very soon. The spring equinox is the 23rd of September. It's a gateway, it's a portal. Excellent time to do a reading. Wishing well. Very wishing well. Manifestations, expectations. So that's a good time to manifest. If you want to manifest on a full moon, make it the 23rd. So it goes in cycles. So when you want to manifest a job, which the job line of work I was in, which was makeup, I would wear a black shirt, a black dress, something that represents the job that I was in, which was makeup and skincare. So I would wear that. And my son used to be in projects, so I bought a shirt that said project on it because I wanted him to, manifest a project. So that's what I did to him. Or a new pair of pants, which manifests work. So the first card I've got is the Tribe, number 8, karmic scorpionic cycle. So this was a fated day. And as we know, Prince Charles is a Scorpio. Death and resurrection is part of his life. It's part of his path. Community, belonging, being seen and understood by others, like-minded people and connections, a sense of family and friendship, and knowing your place in the world. This card signals a new affiliation with a group. Humans are social creatures, and we need to know we are useful to our tribes, our families, our communities. In a tribe, everyone has an important function and feels I matter. Membership in the group provides a sense of belonging or kinship and of purpose that comes from working together for the greater fulfillment of all. Perhaps you're part of a spiritual community or an artistic one, which I was talking about. Online studies with Radley Valentine, which I'm doing online studies with. Perhaps you're in, regardless of its form or focus, your community brings you joy, you will be inspired and want to contribute to it. Your contribution may be as small as showing up or as large as becoming its leader. No matter your position, your presence is needed. You're discovering the essential qualities that you share with another, and perhaps also those who you don't share. There are times when you follow and other times the person leads, and times when you lead and the other follows. The appearance of this card points to the importance of learning the proper dance between you and another. Accepting the truth that everyone has flaws is part of that dance. Yet you are also being asked to be aware of the dynamics that you don't want to repeat. You're in perfect place to make changes in order to experience the best version of who you can be together. So learning how to build relationships. And I was watching Drew Barrymore's show, on her show, the Talk Show Live, and she said, we are all in relationships, whether we like it or not. We have a relationship with our parents, our children, our friends, and those relationships are a constant work in progress, is what she said. So even if we're single, we're not actually single. We're in a relationship with our siblings and our families. However good or bad that is, it depends on us and how we deal with it. So I'm reading some books on self-help called Self-Esteem. The other one was Toxic Relationships, and another one talks about how to deal with the 5 Languages of Love by Gary Chapman, which is a really good book. Talks about how to read someone's love language. And everyone's different. It's how it's different for everyone. It's different how you treat someone who's like you and someone who's not like you. And then learn to accept them based on how they are, and not on their mental health, not on their behaviour, but on the emotional person you're dealing with, not just the mental health side of things. Don't judge them. Accept them. That's all they need, is acceptance. Fork in the road. Time to make a decision, considering the consequences as you prepare to act, owning up to your obligations to make a necessary choice. Every choice has a consequence. You've arrived at a fork in the road. You're being asked to come to a decision. Will you further your dreams by choosing left or by choosing right? Will you take the road less travelled or the one well worn by others? This is your choice and yours alone to make. Circumstances and people will not make it for you. Be present and do not avoid the junction. Take heart, as no matter which path you choose, you will have a rich and meaningful experience. It's a moment of truth where you are in the evolution of your relationship. Will you choose to open up the possibility of love, or to remain isolated, or go deeper and commit to mutual passion or walk away? This is a time to take responsibility for your truest desire and follow it. Be honest with yourself about what you're willing to do, invest and then give. Then choose. You cannot make a wrong decision. If you move forward with a relationship, know that it will be based in truth and authenticity. You will have made a conscious decision rather than simply hanging on because you don't want to be alone, or ending things because you're afraid of the intensity of genuine connection. All roads lead to the lessons you must learn in your relationships. Regardless of the decision you make, it will place you on the path to a true experience of the heart. So when I moved here, I already saw this house, this place, the pine trees, everything, 3 years ago. But when we were in COVID lockdown and I was at the university dormitory, I saw this place in my dream. So I knew when I spotted it that this is where I had to move. I'm not sure why I'm here, but I'm sure there's a lesson I have to learn. So I get drawn to places I'm meant to learn lessons from. And I think, yes, they could be a painful lesson, like the last house. I was led to the backyard. I saw the lady that lived downstairs. She was living in her own separate part of the house, but kind of not on her own area. She had her own private garden, and I saw that for her. And I saw that garden, and I was drawn to. That's how I knew that was the house I was meant to move into. But what I didn't predict was I was going to have problems with the people that live there, or be attacked by the people that lived there. I think I caused a big shift in that mindset, though, because a lot of them would stay in their rooms and not come out, and I would try to talk to them and be friendly and engage and try and get everyone to work together. But these three individuals did not want to fix themselves, did not want to change, did not want to transform, and definitely did not want help with that, and so it fell on deaf ears. But I'm hoping I made some difference, because I know the young boy that had the issue started to go walking and started to take care of his appearance and started to cut his hair, so he got to see how he should be rather than how he was. I don't know his history or his background, I just know he had a lot of problems, and I tried to be there as a support worker, because that's what I'm trained in. 26, the deep freeze. He had a sad childhood, and I think that's why he's the way he is, but I don't need to be picked on or bullied by someone I was trying to help. That's not how you treat someone who's trying to help you. Everything has its season. Now is the time to put activity on hold while you rest. The cold winter beckons you to slow down and put a freeze on things that are not ready to bloom. It's time for regeneration, hibernation. Forgo ambitious activity and change, and relationships have to go through a dreamy state of not being, not going anywhere, not needing to. It's a time to put all your arguments on ice. Nothing beneficial will come from this. Self-care is the most important activity now, so reflect, read a good book, self-help book if you can, get a massage, and rest and dream. This is what I'm doing, taking time away. Transformation, metamorphosis, 25, Aquarian energy. You are the process of deep and beautiful change. Butterflies earn their wings through great effort. The process of change is often painful, for it never is without losses and sacrifices. If you are to transform from one form to another, a part of you needs to die. Letting go isn't easy, especially when you're used to thinking a certain way about your life and how you should live it. Just as a snake sheds its dead skin, I had a snake visit me recently, long story, or a caterpillar dies, the butterfly can be reborn. You're required to release your old ideas and perhaps some necessary change so you can live your best life. Perhaps you're being asked to let go of low self-worth, a dream that no longer serves you, a relationship that is draining, or unhealthy habits. Despite your fear, you must accept that this is a transformational time for you. There will be some loss involved, but you'll love what you become. So, transformation, death, rebirth, Scorpio energy. And then we have the fairy wishing well, number 7. Manifestation, expectations, and offerings. It's people have made offerings at this fairy wishing well for centuries, perhaps even a millennia. This is the star card again, the chalices, sacred chalices of Glastonbury. But the gold they are leaving here is heavy with expectation, so much that her energy is drained. She struggles to undertake the granting of so many wishes. She must carefully weigh each wish upon in her hands and feel the energy. Those wishes that are for the highest good of all, that are made by people with open hearts and granted through the process, can still take time. Those who wish the fairy to hurry up, those who are impatient or who keep questioning her and have a fixed idea of how their wish must come about, will find that their wish is rarely granted. It is not that she does not wish to, it is that she is tired and must have help. So to make your wish come true, you must assist. Here is how you work your own magic. Breathe not a word to a harsh and critical person about your wish. Nurture your wish with practical steps every day. Face your fears and release them, and become ready for the wish to be granted. Make the path, walk the path. Clear the path and then walk the path. You see, we can sometimes be granted our wish, often with a great deal of effort from the fairies, and yet we are not ready for that which we thought we wanted. So what you think you need, don't wish for what It's an old saying. Make sure you don't wish for something, because when you get it, you might not want it anymore. So our role is to trust, to surrender, to clear the way and do what needs to be done, emotionally, spiritually and physically. Also, we can send love and prayers and healing through the fairies of the wishing well. It is significant that many of these sacred places were exercised by members of the early church and driven away. Leave them an offering without expecting anything in return, then the fairies of these wishing places will return what you are after. We are all magical beings who will prosper and be joyful. Build a fairy shelter at the water's edge. A fairy door will give them a portal through which to enter. 'Tis all in the intent with which you build. You have mastered the making of money in some respects. We have learnt of its ability to affect family, prestige and standing. We have allowed it to come into our life, and we've seen some of the impact it can have. But have we learnt to allow it to flow like the waters of the well, and to trust that all our needs are divinely taken care of? This card, while showing us that creating with money is definitely something we are working at, reminds us that we may get caught up in that process and forget to that extent about the source which is in ourselves and in our connection with God. Is the magic circle of your coin ignited spiritually as well as materially? What is it that you are creating with your prosperity? Ponder the questions without judgment, and love being connected to both the source and the outcome, which I recently did online with manifestation, and what your relationship to money is and how you feel about it, negative or positive, what it attracts and how it attracts. And then we have 45, the gatekeeper. This is walking between worlds. This is time shifts, people that can astral travel, like myself, people that go into the future temporarily or for a space and time and can predict a certain outcome. 45. Everyone can do it, by the way. It's not just me. Every person has the ability to have a dream, and then when it's like a movie, you know that it's actually an astral travel. You've actually astral travelled forward or backward in time. With me, it's touching something from the past, and usually I can get an impression of that energy, whatever it is, whether it be a photograph, a piece of clothing that you used to wear when you were little, transports me back. I have a picture I recently touched, and I got an impression of my son when he was little, and that was when he was 6 months of age, and I got that impression that very night, looking at him in his outfit, just as I had captured it in that moment in that photograph. It took me back to him when he was little. It was magical. You can shape your own time, create portals between past and present, allow them now to be more effective and magical. Revisit the past and do over with the gatekeeper arrives. Watches and clocks don't work for you. I never have a clock or a watch on my hands. They break, including my phones, because they have a clock on them. So timers will go off at strange times. There may be visitations from people you have yet to meet, and you may recreate your past in the dimension experience when sleeping. Going to fairy mounds and sacred places in stone circles, fairy ring, and may accelerate this process. You may see ghosts and understand the future and stay well amidst it all. For future time is fluid. Past, present and future, the veils are lifted right now. It goes in circles. It's not from A to B. It's actually a circular motion of time. You will see ghosts and understand the future and stay well amidst it. For it is not, they call them time walkers, chaos but truth, and it is not unreality but more real, more wondrous than any dream. Understand that the concept of linear time is irrelevant to the question you seek your answer to. Foretelling is coming to you as you tap into a source outside of the linear time. It's a landscape, a dream time of the Aboriginal people of Australia's all time and no time, a beginning, a life and ending, a recreation occurring simultaneously. We have, like the movie Sliding Doors, is exactly how time is. Or the movie Time Traveller's Wife would be another way to explain it. Or A Discovery Witches, and how she time travels between the worlds. We too can dream and be without the time pressures we currently believe we need to experience. Some say that when we break through to the fifth world in the future, we'll no longer have this current time belief and all will change and flow. Once upon a time, we'll be now and forever, and we will be one with our ancestors past, companions present, and generations of the future. We will speak and dream and share together. That is so true. I hope that's helped someone out there that's an earth sign.